About 10 years ago, my husband John and I read a Passage Maker magazine article about a journey called the Great Loop. Essentially, the loop is a 6,000 nautical mile journey. People typically start the trip in the south and head north on the East Coast Intracoastal Waterway to Canada and the Great Lakes, planning to be there in the summer months. From the Great Lakes, loopers head south through Chicago on various inland waterways to the Gulf of Mexico, returning to their starting point to create a complete loop. We took the trip in 2001 and along the way stopped at the World Trade Center in New York City. 4 months later, the towers came down, and the mood on the water definitely changed. As a native New Yorker, the destruction of the towers made me hesitant to do anything with the footage I'd recorded. Several months ago, I watched the footage and realized that it could be edited into an interesting travelogue. I hope you enjoy watching it. Before heading out on our Great Loop adventure, we spent a few weeks in Fort Myers and Sanibel Island getting supplies and seeing the sights. Some of our relatives live in Fort Myers, so this was a logical staging area for us. Florida's southwest Gulf Coast is famous for its beautiful beaches. Here you can also find boatyards, marinas, and anchorage. Sanibel Island is a subtropical barrier island off the coast of Fort Myers, and you can get there by car or by boat. You can always find a shell on Sanibel's beaches. Sanibel boasts 22 miles of paved bicycling paths, many great restaurants, and the well-known Ding Darling National Wildlife Reserve, which is on the north side of the island. The reserve is larger than 2,500 acres and has roads, walking paths, and even kayaking trails through the mangroves. Bird watchers gather here from around the world because it's on the migratory path of so many interesting species. We left on the Great Loop one foggy morning on January 16th. Many books recommended leaving later in the year, but we were eager to get moving. The fog lifted quickly, and after checking on fuel prices, we set south to Marco Island to take on fuel. We anchored at Russell Pass in the Everglades for several nights. A guidebook said that there was enough swing room here for the QE2. It was a beautiful, calm anchorage where we caught a couple of fish and could watch dolphins surface occasionally. This is a fun place to take the dinghy around. From here, we took it to Pigeon Key and to Everglades City for dessert at the Reel and Gun restaurant. While John studied the nav charts, Max read up on how to clean fish, as did Evan. One really cold morning in Shark River, we watched this outward-bound group cruise by. They'd slept on this boat and were on day 5 of 20 in unseasonably cold temperatures. The wind picked up a lot, and boaters weren't leaving their slips in Key West, so we detoured to Marathon. It's good to be able to remain flexible on schedules. If you're meeting friends along the way, give yourself some wiggle room on the timing, or as they say in the Coast Guard, semper gumbi, for always flexible. While docked at Marathon, we took some long walks and checked out an interesting place called Pigeon Key. In 1904, Henry Flagler announced he would build a railroad from Miami to Key West. People wondered if he was sane, but he was the driving force to accomplish the Key West extension, and Florida's remote tropical island paradise would never be the same. Today, Pigeon Key and a few of the original structures used as the base camp and later for bridge maintenance survive as a museum dedicated to the builders of the extension. You can find maps, historic photos, models, and a picture postcard collection in the island's museum. When the wind died down a bit, we left the marina and headed to Key West. Most of the original 7-mile bridge still exists. The abandoned railroad right-of-way was converted to form the base for the overseas highway to Key West. Later, a new highway bridge across the 7-mile gap was built adjacent to the old railroad bridge. Dodging crab pots is a constant battle around these waters. On the way to Key West, we stopped to snorkel at Looe Key. When the weather's good, it's hard to find a mooring ball here. This day, we had a choice of dozens of balls. At 62 degrees, accompanied by some brisk water temperatures, we spent more time debating whether or not to go in than actually snorkeling. I'll admit that Key West may not be the best place for children, but the southernmost city of the United States is an interesting place. Very little seems to change in Key West over the years. Cruise ships stop here regularly, and the locals seem to know the schedule for each one. When this ship left port, they had about 10 subcontracted handlers from a tugboat company, mostly women, release the lines from the pier. Key West is famous for its sunset entertainment in Mallory Square.
This morning I woke up with an ear infection. Hey guys, listen up. What you just witnessed right there, just that moment.
You can also find some interesting artwork and sculptures scattered around town. Key West has several museums, including the Ripley's Museum. And Ernest Hemingway's house with its famous six-toed cats.
Hemingway brought it back, had the bedpost turned into a headboard. Happened to notice the bench downstairs in the hallway had a very similar pattern, came from the same monastery.
There is something for everyone in Key West.